Hello everyone, welcome yet again to another one-shot video. Today we will be discussing about resource and development. Now resource and development is the first chapter from your geography portion. So let us quickly start and wind up the chapter. Alright, so first of all, as you can see, resources are available means in the environment, any material which is available in the environment and which can be put to human use or can satisfy human needs. Everything in our environment which can be used to satisfy our needs and is, first of all, it should be technologically accessible, economically feasible and culturally acceptable can be termed as a resource. Alright. Human beings themselves are the most important or essential component of resources. They transform material which is available to them in their environment into resources and then use them. Next, classification of resources. Now, this topic or types of resources has been rationalized for this year, that is for 2022-23. So, we will be just quickly looking at it, but we won't be going into the details. So, these are classified on the basis of origin, exhaustibility, ownership or on the basis of the status of development. There is again a chart from the NCERT which shows about the classification of resources, that is types of resources. Now, problems which is being created by the indiscriminate use of resources by man. Now, man, as we know, is one of the most greediest animal. Alright. So, we have been utilizing the resources to a maximum. Now, what has happened? This has led to serious problems which have been created for the future generations and as well as present generations. That is depletion of resources for satisfying the greed of a few individuals. Accumulation of resources in few hands and denying the majority people, that is they don't get much, they don't get to use much of these resources, and these resources are concentrated in with only few individuals, which in turn divided the society into the segments, that is the ones who have things and the ones who do not have anything, that is between haves and have-nots or simply rich and poor. Indiscriminate exploitation of resources has also led to global ecological crisis such as your global warming is an issue, ozone layer depletion, environmental pollution and land degradation. All these have are the issues which are of immediate concern for the whole humanity. Alright. Okay. So, next part, to tackle this situation, there was a meeting which was being held in Rio de Janeiro, that is Brazil, that is 100 heads of different states actually met and raised their concern about this growing concern, that is related to environmental protection. That is in June 1992, participants were 100 heads of different states. Venue was Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, and even it was the first International Earth Summit. Agenda of the summit was for addressing urgent problems of environmental protection and socio-economic development at the global level. Outcomes: the Convention on Biological Diversity, the Framework Convention on Climate Change and Principles of Forest Management, as well as the Rio Declaration on Environmental Development and Agenda 21. We will be looking at Agenda 21, that is again in June 1992. Agenda 21, the participants were same 100 heads of different state. Event was United Nations Conference on Environment and Development. Now, Agenda 21, its main goal was to combat environmental damage, poverty, disease through global cooperation on common interests. One very good example of this agenda could be the corona, right? All the nations in the world were fighting together, or they came together to fight this virus. So, that was disease through global cooperation and common interest, mutual needs as well as shared responsibilities. Outcome was, it aims at achieving global sustainable development, and one major objective of this Agenda 21 is that different states should also come up with their own Agenda 21s. Is that every local government should draw its own local Agenda 21. So, that means a local Agenda 21 for every government, every nation, and later on those Agenda 21s will try to achieve the Agenda 21 goals which have been set at the global level. Now, Gandhiji once said there is enough for everybody's need and not for anybody's greed. He was against mass production and wanted to replace it with the production by the masses. Club of Rome, again this is from the box information in your NCERT. Club of Rome advocated resource conservation for the first time in a more systematic way in 1968. Then in 1974, Gandhian philosophy was used by Schumacher in his book which is known as Small is Beautiful, and conservation at the global level, again Brundtland Commission report which coined this term of sustainable development and advocated Our Common Future, a book which was entitled Our Common Future. All right. Fine. So, sustainable development. Now, coming to the point, what is sustainable development? That is, sustainable development means using the resources, but using them in a judicious manner, and as well as making sure that these resources are also available for the future or coming generations. Sustainable economic development means development should take place without damaging the environment. That is, we should not damage the environment, and development in the present should not compromise with the needs of the future or coming generations. So, that is what is sustainable development. All right, you can see this image also. All right. Now, resource planning in India. Now, how now once we know that resources are available, now how a proper planning can be put into place so that we can utilize these resources in a judicious and a more systematic manner. Now, resource planning in India, again it is based on three aspects. That is a complex process which involves, first is you identify the various resources, identification and inventory of resources across the regions of the country. This involves, you have to do the surveying, you have to map the resource, its qualitative as well as quantitative aspects, estimations and measurement of the resources. Then evolving a planning structure endowed with the appropriate technology which we have, skill and institutional setup for implementing resource development plans, and later on achieving or matching the overall country's development plans, that is matching the resource development plans with the overall national developmental plans. So, this is what is the resource planning in India based on three aspects. Now, this can also be a question, how is resource planning done in India, or what do you know about the resource planning in India? Now, moving on to the next part, that is land resources. Now, land, as we know, we have studied this in class 8th also, and most of the aspects in class 10 geography we have already studied in class 8th, but now in class 10th you majorly focus on the India aspect. In class 8th we were focusing more on the world aspect. So, land is a natural resource of utmost importance. It supports natural vegetation, wildlife, human life, economic activities, transport and communication systems. Now, India has under a variety of relief features, namely mountains, plateaus and plains and islands. Now, this is the graph which has been shown, that is plains is your 43%, all right, mountains then 30% and your plateaus is 27%, all right. So, land under important relief features. Now, land utilization, how this land is being utilized? Land resources are used for the following purposes. First is your forest, which are under the forest category. Then land which is not available for cultivation, they are again classified into two aspects, that is barren and wasteland, and second the land which is put to non-agriculture uses such as buildings, roads, factories, etc. Then other uncultivated land excluding the fallow land, that is permanent pastures or grazing grounds, and land under miscellaneous tree crop groves, which is again not included in the total net sown area of the country. Fallow lands, now which have been left uncultivated. Now, in that aspect we have current fallow which is left without cultivation for one or less than one agriculture year. Then other than current fallow which we have left uncultivated for the past 1 to 5 agriculture years. Now, we are not cultivating on that, we have left it for the again soil to regain its natural fertility. Then cultivable wasteland left uncultivated for more than 5 agriculture years. And finally, net sown area, that is area sown more than once in an agriculture year plus the net sown area is known as total gross cropped area. Okay. So, area which is sown once in an agriculture year is your net sown area, and once you add that that is area sown more than once in an agriculture year plus the total net sown area will give us the gross cropped area. Alright. Okay. Now, land use pattern in India, that is again the same thing, and we will just look at how it has been transformed over the years, that is general land use categories from 1960 to 2014 and 15. As you can see here, this has been reduced. Alright, this area you can see here there is a reduction, that is net sown area has reduced, and you can see here our barren and uncultivable wastelands have also reduced over the years. Alright, the forest area has increased, that is a good sign, from 18 to 23.3%, and 33% should be the required area under forest. So, the use of land is determined by physical factors as well as your human factors. As you can see here, again this is from your NCERT, the data which has been provided. Alright. Now, what leads to land degradation? Now, land being an important resource, again there are major concerns for its degradation. Now, human activities such as deforestation, overgrazing, mining and quarrying have contributed significantly towards land degradation. Like in states like Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh and Odisha, deforestation due to mining have caused severe land degradation. In states like Gujarat, Maharashtra, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, overgrazing is one of the main reasons for land degradation. And finally, in states of Punjab, Haryana and Western Uttar Pradesh, over irrigation is responsible for land degradation. Land conservation measures, how we can conserve. Now, we have identified that land is a resource, and now second thing we have identified that it is under threat. Alright, that is it is being degraded. Now, what we can do to conserve it? So, land conservation measures, first is afforestation and planting of shelter belts of plants, method to check land degradation in arid areas, control on overgrazing, stabilization of sand dunes by again growing thorny bushes, methods to check land and water degradation in industrial and suburban areas, proper management of wastelands, control on mining activities, and finally proper discharge of the waste materials can help in reducing land degradation. Next aspect is point is your soil as a resource. First we looked at land, now second aspect is soil as a resource. This again map shows us the various areas where you find the different types of soils which are there in India: alluvial, black, red and yellow, laterite, arid and forest soils. Alright. Now again, soil is the most important renewable natural resource, and the soil is like a living system. Soil is found on the uppermost layer of the earth's crust. Alright. Soil is a mixture of 4 main ingredients, that is weathered rock, organic matter, air and water. Weathered rock can be in the form of sand, silt or clay, pebbles or larger rocks. Organic matter can be anything from old leaves, dead animals and plants to microorganisms, and the last two ingredients are air and water. Now, formation of soil, this is again from your NCERT, that is parent rocks, relief, flora, fauna and microorganism, climate as well as time. Soil is formed mainly due to the process of weathering. As a result of weathering, a layer of loose rock material is formed on the land surface. This layer remains undisturbed for a long period of time. Therefore, time is also an essential factor here. Chemical, physical and organic changes takes place in that, and therefore, these changes lead to the formation of soil. Now, factors affecting again relief, parent rock or the bedrock, climate, vegetation and other forms of life, and lastly time. So, these are some of the factors which are affecting the soil formation. Now, again classification of soil, as you can see, alluvial soil is this portion, Then we have black soil, this region. Then we have red and yellow soils, all right, this region. Then we have laterite soil, you can find it here, these regions, somewhere here, here. Then arid soil in this region, and forest soils are here, forest and mountain soils in this region, all right. So now next is about different types of soils. Now first, as you can see, we are talking about alluvial soil. Again, is the most fertile and the widespread soil which is found in India, formed due to the deposition of fine silt which is brought down by the rivers, called alluvium by the rivers. Found in northern plains, Gujarat plains and the coastal plains, consist of sand, silt and clay. In the upper reaches of the river valley, that is near the place of the break of the slope, the soil are coarse, that is thick gravel. Such as soils are more common in Piedmont plains such as Duars, Chos and Terai regions. And according to their age, alluvial soils are classified into two types, that is Bhangar and Khadar. That is old alluvial Bhangar and new alluvial which is Khadar. You can see this is Khadar and this is Bhangar. Alright. Next is your black soil, known as Regar soil and also ideal for growing cotton. Regar means cotton and best soil for cotton cultivation. Most of the Deccan is occupied by the black soil. High water retaining capacity, soil is sticky when wet and shrink when dried. Rich in iron, lime, calcium, potassium, aluminum, magnesium, deficient in nitrogen, phosphorus and organic matter. Red soil develops on crystalline igneous rocks. Igneous rock is your primary rocks, and areas of low rainfall in the eastern and southern parts of the Deccan Plateau. These soils develop a reddish color because of the diffusion of iron in them in crystalline and metamorphic rocks. It looks yellow in its hydrated form when it occurs in a hydrated form. Next is your laterite soil, again from the Latin word later, which means brick. The laterite soil develops under tropical as well as subtropical climate with an alternate wet and dry spell. This soil is a result of intense leaching due to heavy rains. So these soils are generally found in your Western Ghat region, all right, and in your northeastern states as well, where there is intense rain. Lateritic soils are acidic and generally deficient in plant nutrients. Found in southern states, Western Ghats and regions of Maharashtra, Odisha, some parts of West Bengal and northeastern regions. Can be used to grow coffee and cashew nuts. Next is your arid soil. These soils range from red to brown in color and generally sandy in texture and saline in nature. Due to dry climate, high temperature, evaporation is faster in these soils and the soil lacks humus and moisture. The lower horizons of the soil develop occupied by canker nodules because of the increasing calcium content which is downwards, and because of this the infiltration of water also doesn't happen because of the presence of these canker layer formation in the bottom horizon restrict the infiltration of water found in western Rajasthan. Forest soils are again formed in the forest areas where sufficient rainfall is available. The soils vary in structure and texture depending upon the slope on the mountain environment where they are formed. They are loamy and silty when on the valley sides and coarse grained in the upper slopes of the mountains. In the snowbound areas of the Himalayas, they experience denudation and are acidic with low humus content. The soil found in lower valleys are more fertile. Alright, so these are forest and mountain soils. Now next again we saw soil as a resource, different types of soils. Now moving on next to the problems related to soil, and then later on how we can conserve or protect this important resource. Now soil erosion which happens, that is removal of soil, removal of topsoil from one place to another by natural agencies is called soil erosion by wind or water. It is caused by running water and wind, leads to deforestation. Reasons can be overgrazing, deforestation, unscientific agriculture practices are responsible for large scale soil erosion. Two types, one is gully erosion and sheet erosion, okay, that we will be looking at in detail. The first one is gully erosion. You can see here the formation of gullies. Okay, these are also known as ravines in the Chambal area. The rainwater, when moves down on an uneven land, scoops away the soil and form deep channels called gullies. This type of erosion is called gully erosion. A land which is broken into many small parts by the gullies is called badland, and a badland is unfit for cultivation and for other economic activities. You can see this. All right. Next is your sheet erosion, that is completely it is washed away. Sometimes when water flows as a sheet over large areas down a slope, the water takes away the topsoil if there is no proper plants available there to hold the soil, and this type of erosion is called sheet erosion. Soil conservation. Now we saw how the soil erosion is taking place, and now because we need soil and it is a very important resource for us human beings, so we need to conserve it also. Now soil conservation, that is first is contour plowing, that is plowing along the contour lines, that is plowing along the contour lines and can de-accelerate the flow of water down the slopes. So water does not flow directly, it is being held, and also it can be used for cultivation. Terrace farming. Steps can be cut out on the slopes, making a terrace like structure, and terrace cultivation restricts again soil erosion. So this is terrace type farming, generally practiced on the mountain slopes or hills. Now strip cropping can be one more aspect through which we can control soil erosion. Large fields are divided into strips, and strips of grass are left to grow between the crops. This breaks up the force of the wind, and this method is called strip cropping. Now you can see here crop is being planted and some area is being left and grass is allowed to grow here so that the speed of the wind can be broken down. All right. So this will help in or prevention of soil erosion. Next is your shelter belts. Now shelter belts can be trees which are planted so that again the wind can be checked, that is planting lines of trees to create shelter. You can see here it is a line of trees which have been planted, and here also lines of trees have been planted. And mulching, application of a protective layer of material to the field soil surface just after sowing any crop. So this is a protective, you can see here protective structure has been applied so that the soil erosion does not take place. All right, mulching. Now this again you can go through the types of soil which has been there as a chart: alluvial, black, red and yellow, laterite, arid and mountain soils, saline and alkaline soils. So yeah, you can go through this one probably, you can take a picture of it. So most of the things have been mentioned in short format, states where they are found, rich in, blacks in, and crops which are grown. So this can be helpful for you in terms of your agriculture chapter as well. All right. So this brings us to the end of our video, one shot video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed.